Hello and welcome to Legal Basics with Sarah Law Global, and my name is Sian. Now, the reason why people keep saying, oh, the courts are pro-employee, mostly is because before a person or an organization or an entity decides to employ a person, they need to have calculated whether that relationship is sustainable. So generally in the employment field, it's like a hole. It's easy to go in. It's not easy to come out of. So before you go into that hole, you need to have decided, can my business sustain a person who is paid this amount of money, who needs this kind of equipment to work? And then if you cannot sustain it, then do not hire, especially on permanent basis. However, along this way, an organization can have done all this feasibility study. They can have made all these good plans, and then something happens like COVID. And even if you had calculated that this organization is going to be stable in the next 10 years, suddenly you find that now maybe your workforce is probably no longer sustainable, or even if you have to keep them, then you cannot pay them as much because now you do not have an income like the one you used to have. On today's episode, we are going to look at pay cuts because it's one of the issues that have come up in this time of the COVID pandemic. We're going to look at whether it is actually legal to have your employer cut your pay when your contract guaranteed a different amount of money. We're going to look at if indeed there's a legal process, what is the way to go about it. Today's guest is not new to our screen. In fact, I have an inbox full of hyenas asking for her number, but still, I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, viewer. My name is Karo Morioki. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, practicing in various areas of law, including labor law. Karibu.
Karibu sana. Say hello to hyenas, feces.
Hi.
Carol, karibu to the broadcast.
Asante.
I would like you to just explain, what is a pay cut?
Okay, so a pay cut is basically reduction in wages or salary. That is what a pay cut would be.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so now that many employers have taken the pay cut away, and I think though people say that the courts are pro-employee, I think the courts have been very friendly towards an employer who has decided to at least keep their workforce, even if they're not able to pay them what they would have paid them. At the end of the day, it's a lesser evil than letting them go. But is a pay cut a legal way? Is there a way that an employer can be on the safe side while cutting the wages of their employee?
So I think the short answer to that is yes. There is a way an employer can give pay cuts to employees without necessarily being on the wrong side of the law.
Okay.
So there are various provisions under our employment laws that make provisions for wages and protection of wages and protection of employment contracts. And I think the most fundamental is Section 10 of the Employment Act. Section 10 provides for what should be included in an employment contract. And one of the items that should be included is the remuneration of the employee.
Yeah.
What has been agreed upon as the wages of, the salary of that employee.
Yeah.
Now, Section 10.5 continues to say when there is a change in the terms of the contract, what an employer should do is consult the employee on the changes in the contract, and then after that they can review the terms of the contract and inform the employee in writing. So pay cuts or what would be a reduction in wages or salary would fall under that category
of altering the terms of the employment contract.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I noticed that you said that the employer needs to consult.
Correct.
Does the law explain what what amounts to consultation.
No, it doesn't.
It
So
doesn't.
yes. So I think we would just give it any other definition of what a consultation would look like. So it's not, from my understanding, it wouldn't be, I am informing you that this is what I am doing. It should, be a discussion between the employer and the employee. What I would think is it should contain maybe the reasons why you're thinking this is the way to go. And particularly in this COVID-19 pandemic,
Yeah.
I think that has, especially for most businesses, they've been thrown into disarray.
Yeah.
Some have been forced to restructure, some have been forced to close down. For the ones that are restructuring, most of them are restructuring. They're retaining employees, but then they're reducing salaries or the worst case scenarios. Yes, reducing some benefits. So maybe that would be what should be explained to an employee, or should form the basis of the discussion between an employer and an employee, saying, hey, this is, it's public knowledge.
Yeah.
This has been going on. We are not able to continue with the same terms that we were in. So this is what the thoughts are, so that you can keep your job.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I think I think generally the pandemic is just something that is affecting all of us.
Correct.
But sometimes the Employment Act actually envisions a situation where things can change for the business.
Yes.
And also, I'm looking at now in these times of the pandemic, we have different things that have come into the world. For instance, when you and I, who are not very old, when we started to work, working was being at work every day.
Yes.
There's no way you could convince your boss that I can work from home so long as I send my pleadings.
Yes.
But after the pandemic, now people are embracing new things. Now an employee can stay at home so long as you have a way to ensure that they have deliverables. Yes. Some people no longer have to travel to their workplace. So maybe if I was an employer and I was giving somebody a transport allowance, the truth is that now I don't need to give a transport allowance to them because they work from home.
Correct.
Yet it was a term of their contract.
Yes.
But also on the other side, on the side of the employee, let's say I've been given, we're going to pay you 5 million a month. I say, oh my God, my child is now going to gem school.
Yeah.
Now I want to just wear Prada.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm doing designer.
Yes.
I've already changed my lifestyle. I've probably moved to a different estate. Employees are people. They also come with other things. They come with children. They come with families. They structure their availability at work around all those other things. So if an employee was to just get a pay cut just suddenly, there's a whole adjustment that they would have to do in their life. So now there's also those employers who probably their business has not gone down, but just because there's a pandemic and everybody else is complaining about less income, they say, even you, my people, atanyini 50%. Yeah. So just to encourage the viewers, whether you're an employer or you're an employee, how would you suggest that they go about these consultations?
Okay. You've mentioned something I think that is critical.
Yes.
I had a budget for 5 million.
Sure.
You're telling me you're going to give me 1 million.
Yeah. Prada is
yes,
expensive.
Yes, that means I'm not going to wear my Prada. Then what happens to me?
Yeah.
But the reality is that things have changed.
Sure.
Like there's no world in which I would have anticipated, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
I would never have thought that there's a day I won't have to go to court. I'll just sit in my house and, just follow proceedings from there or attend court from my house virtually. So things are changing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a question, and it's probably not just the COVID-19 pandemic. Any other realities of business happen. Businesses fail.
Yeah.
Profits reduce for any other reason.
Yeah.
So I think it's up to the employer, employee, to sit down. Maybe one of the things I think that makes employees feel very aggrieved is the lack of consultation.
You just get a letter
Yes.
saying, "Hi, Sian.
Yeah.
From today, it's 40%. Sorry."
Yes. You're no longer going to be able to afford the lifestyle that you had.
Yeah.
So you feel very aggrieved because you didn't let me know. I had these plans. It's very frustrating.
And I've not explained myself.
Yes. You've not even given me a chance to tell you what I think about, the reduction. Or mostly it's, I don't even understand the reasons why you've done that.
Yeah.
So maybe the employer would have a duty to put the reasons forward. Say, this is the reason why we are varying your terms of the contract. This is the reason why we are giving you pay cuts. It's not tenable. And maybe sometimes even outside pay cuts, the saddest reality would have to be
now
termination.
Go home,
go
and
home.
now there's zero money.
Redundant.
Yeah.
So avoiding the worst case scenario, maybe we can work with this one, and then maybe explain if things change, we can revert to the terms that were subsisting before whatever circumstances that forced us here happened.
Okay.
Yes. So I think it's a question of sit down, explain
let
to them
your
the
employees
reasons.
get the full picture of why you need to do this.
Yes.
And let them talk to you, and you get to appreciate the side also.
Yes.
Okay, so you said the Employment Act provides that a person's wages as agreed have to be paid by an employer, and failure to do that is an offense on the part of the employer.
Yeah.
So now, if I'm an employer and this is the situation I'm in, I need to reduce wages, probably even within a certain amount of time. What step by step should I follow to ensure that I'm on the right side of the law?
Okay, so maybe the most important thing to note is that while the Act provides for consultation, it doesn't provide for agreement.
Okay.
Such that what it says is that you consult, okay, and then you review, and then you inform the employee in writing. Okay, you write to them. That does not mean that the employee has to agree. Because there are cases where, you can consult them, and then you inform them, you review and then inform them, and then they don't agree.
That's interesting. Well, the Act has not provided for, it's not a requirement according to the Act for the employee to agree.
Yes.
However, I would just maybe moving from employment law and just looking at contract law, and can parties vary a written contract through a verbal agreement?
It wouldn't be tenable. Okay, you can vary a written agreement. You agree on something else, but at least it's an agreement. And maybe what follows after that, parties are going to act in accordance with the new terms
to what
of
they agreed.
Yes, what they agreed upon
by
verbally.
Conduct.
Yes, by conduct. So it can be implied that it can be clear that this was varied.
Okay.
But then here comes a situation where there is an employment contract that is in place.
Yeah.
What should I anticipate if any of the parties is going to vary any of the terms of the contract? An agreement would be, a necessary requirement for varying that contract.
Because the other one is also written.
Yes, because the other one is also written.
Okay.
Yes.
Seeing that the law itself does not really define what amounts to consultation, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a letter and a reply, what do the courts agree? What do the courts consider a reasonable threshold for consultation?
So from the cases that I've looked at, I haven't seen any reasonable threshold, but there are cases where it's very clear there was no consultation, because it can be maybe deciphered from communication between the parties, maybe a letter inviting you for a consultation meeting, saying, now this is what we are considering, we're inviting you to a consultation meeting on this and this time, and maybe give you sufficient time to attend that meeting. So it's very clear that there was a consultation that took place, maybe from correspondence prior to the meeting and after the meeting. It's very clear. But absence of that correspondence, then the courts would be left with no option than to decide that there was no consultation.
Okay.
You didn't invite me. It's just you're saying you consulted. The other person is saying you didn't consult.
Your word against theirs.
There's nothing to rely on to arrive at a conclusion that you consulted. Then it's clearly, it would be fair to decide that, to conclude that there was no consultation.
Are the courts forgiving to an employer who skipped the consultation?
No, actually, I read one case between Kenya County Government Union versus the Wajir County Government, where the court decided that failure to consult, which is unilaterally varying the terms of the contract, and this was actually relating to pay cuts specifically, amounted to constructive dismissal. And yes, and when you look at the law, I mean, constructive dismissal comes with, various remedies that the employee would be entitled to.
Yeah.
So consultation is very key, and it's actually the backbone of the employment contract, varying an employment contract, and in fact, fair labor practices. Yes.
So consultations are a must.
It is a must before varying a contract.
Dear employer, if you don't consult, you're going to pay damages. I've seen another case. I forget the claimants, but it was against Tuskegee Supermarket.
Yes.
And against a trade union. But I saw that since there were no consultations, the courts ordered them to pay the full pay until the date and until the day that they go through a consultation.
Yes, correct.
So it can actually be very dangerous on an employer.
Yes, true.
Okay. Well, we've come to the end of our broadcast. We've learned so much. So I would probably just advise the employer, if you need to carry out pay cuts, in summary, consult your people, document this consultation, even if it's minutes to that meeting, then inform them in writing. If you're able to, then so that the contract variation is not challenged, have them sign also that they've agreed to this. Yeah, just to be on the safe side. So if you have, for the viewers that have questions for you, questions on this broadcast, how can they reach you?
They can reach me via my email, that is carol@musimilo.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. And if you have any questions for us, write to us at info@cyroglobal.com. That's info@cyroglobal.com. You can also write to us through our old Gmail address, that is cyrologlobal@gmail.com. Once more, we would like to thank our videography crew, that's Mushiri Frames. They will display their address so that you're able to consult them for those nice videos. And also, we would like to say thanks to J. Ojuma Advocates for facilitating the shooting of this series. Take care of your loved ones. Bye.